Greetings and salutations, everyone. I'm Mekamek. This is Let's Play of the Devil Case 1. In the last episode, we got a little bit of evidence. We got 2 bits of evidence across 25 minutes or so. But what do you expect? This is a story-heavy game. If you skip past all the story, then you can't really appreciate it, can you? Anyway, the majority of the episode was probably taken up by talking about Morgan's relationship to Dr. Asher, the victim. And she is apparently not willing to talk about what the favor was, which makes me wonder if it might actually tie to her work as the Heartbreak Killer. We will be arriving shortly. Shall I send word ahead? Just tell them that David's lawyer is here. 2:49 p.m. July 1st, 2086. Noble Electronics Northeastern HQ. Sublobby A8. I've been here before. Sat right here in this lobby, waiting for David to come and treat me to lunch. At least I think it was this lobby. Could have been some other floor, could have been an entirely different building. All these corporate towers of Babel feel like interchangeable fractals to me, folding in on themselves as patterns of narcissistic paranoia. So monumental in the scale of their hubris, they needed to use non-Euclidean geometry when drawing up the blueprints. The greatest minds of each generation coming together, just to find the most expensive way to shove their heads up their asses. Agent, is something bothering you? Just doing the math on how long we'll be kept waiting here. Apparently, someone will be here shortly. So maybe if I pass the time by glaring around the place, it'll improve my mood. To think this is only one room. This complex is so massive it doesn't even feel man-made. It's like it was carved out of the rock by waves, like it's always been here. That's the con. Oh, that was Sarah. If this place was actually natural, there'd be birds everywhere. I hadn't considered that. Why aren't there birds in here? Probably because of what they do to the ones that get in. I'm kidding. Though I don't have a better explanation. Examine. They changed the logo again. Noble Electronics. How's it feel stepping in here? Is there some kind of religious experience for you? It's just the corporation where my father worked. Careful now, or they'll burn you for heresy against the company. You said it again, the company, as if it's a proper noun. You're mimicking the employees, aren't you? So it can't obey simple orders, but it can pick up on that? Is it just part of the corporate culture? Noble's one of the biggest corporations there is. One of the biggest there's ever been. We mere humans can't hope to escape the gravity of anything that size, no matter where you live or how far off the grid you think you are. So imagine what it's like working for them. You live in company dorms, work in company quarters. Wherever you go, that logo's above your head. You eat, sleep and breathe on Noble's timetable at its discretion. When you spend your whole life inside of it, Noble must feel big enough to be the only company there is. Okay, I think we're about done. Just one more. I can only see one other thing that we can stare at. So much energy. So many people, also intent. You kidding? It's Saturday, the place is half empty. But doesn't everyone work on Saturdays? All the parents do so they don't need to find childcare on Sunday. Everyone else flips a coin, I guess. All these people for 12 hours a day, 6 days a week, what could they all possibly be doing? Making work for themselves. You can be very cynical, can't you? Yeah, I'm terrible. But that guy over there has just been jiggling his cursor for the last 20 seconds. Whoever comes to greet us better have a pulse and some goddamn authority. My mood's starting to sour, and if they just send me the first thing in their infinite chain of corporate bureaucracy, I'll make them wish. Morgan? That's me. Hey there. Android Manufacturing Quality Control Eastern Division. Even doors. I guess Chief Supervisor is a decent level. Oh, okay. For a moment I thought, wait. The 1st? Is this an April Fool's joke? No, it's August 1st. It's okay. He got off easy. Height, 189 centimeters. Weight, 78 kilograms. Blood type, A negative. Occupation, Chief Supervisor of Android Manufacturing Quality Control. Likes hammocks, calligraphy, pale ale. Dislikes first dates, conference calls, and the 5 o'clock shadow. Does that mean he prefers to jump straight to the second date? Proud of his practiced handshake, struggles with solving captures. Hair is starting to grey. Don't call the guy out like that. Even doors, he says, like it's an afterthought. What's a name compared to your place in the hierarchy? You seem familiar. Have you? I'm David's lawyer. Oh, then we must have. Apologies, let me first say how sorry I am about his passing. You and everyone else at the company must be going through a lot right now. As if it's a proper noun. Thank you for taking the time to meet with me. You're welcome, but it's no big deal. Everyone's on the razor today, but what else is new? And compared to PR or legal right now, our workloads in QA are... Never mind, how can I assist you? Shortly before his passing, Dr. Asher began the process of registering this android. Yes, that is correct. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to finish the job. Look at that. It's definitely custom. Gee, you think? Good thing I sought out an expert. There it is, what she was saying 2 episodes back. Treat them how they want to be treated. So even though her mental thought is snarky and sarcastic, she's being very openly flattering. Warm, it goes without saying. Reminds me of the A16 Premier, if anything. The barcode is clearly printed, no visible defects. But you're right, it doesn't correspond to anything we've got on file. Well, they sent you the right man for the job. Now we just need to go to the right place. Not far, I hope. It's in the building. You have a lot of bandages on your hands. I guess that's what's going on here. They aren't just rings. In the building. That could mean anything from down the hall to half a day's hike. The production line on B9 should have everything we need. You do manufacturing inside your corporate headquarters? B9's a fully functional production floor, but it was only built for demonstrative purposes. You clients make deals about how many and in what shape or size. Then they come down to the basement to see how the sausage is made. They have enough money to build a fake factory just for guests. Smart. So long as you're only giving tours and not giving away company secrets. No need to worry about that. We take intellectual security very seriously around here. No kidding, there are 11 cameras on us at the moment. And that's the ones I can see. Who knows how many pairs of modded eyes are aimed our way. Clearly, nothing happens here without the almighty company knowing about it. So if they claim ignorance about anything, it's gonna piss me off. Lead the way. "3:08 p.m. July 1st, 2086. Well, at least it's not the middle of the night. It wasn't a full day's hike, or half a day's hike. Noble Electronics Northeastern HQ. Basement floor 9. That's right, you don't just have one basement floor, you have 9 of them. It really is fully furnished down here. I don't want to take up too much of your time, but it's pretty rare to see all this in person, you know? Would you mind terribly if I looked around a moment? No problem, I've got some prelim paperwork I need to handle anyway, so have at it. I better take full advantage. I'll need more than a cursory knowledge if I want to figure out where Sarah came from and why David wanted me to take custody. I'm gonna look around. You stay put in the meantime. Atenoir, wouldn't want to lose you among the rest of the merchandise. What's being built out there? Our double-line brand new bestsellers, the Animate 16 Warm. Looks kind of cold out there. We keep the factory floor refrigerated. Slows the organics already tuned metabolic activity to a minimum. That explains why the room doesn't smell like rotting flesh. The flesh out there is only somewhat rotting. Slowly. I just meant I'm surprised to see metal. Oh, well, all the A16s have alloy endoskeletons. The organics are layered on later in the process. Sounds like what Sarah told me about herself. Maybe she really was the A16's prototype. But it's hard to imagine bridging the gap between her and these scattered doll parts. I get that you can grow just about anything from Lax Gemini. How do you get the synthetic and organic to work together? Yeah, that was our first concern when R&D began working on the warm concept. The 1.0s were real skin with synthetic muscle. And it was a horror show. Metal pulling on skin was just... right. For 2.0 they work backwards. Organic muscles, organic skin, but digital signatures on organic hardware was a dead end. Didn't the muscle flex when you passed an electric current through them? They'd flex and unflex, sure, but that's not nearly precise enough for facial expressions. Looked like puppets strung up on live wires. We used the test footage to haze interns, actually. He must have figured something out. The A16 wouldn't look out of place on the runway. Thank you, we tried. We ended up reaching out to mod companies. Well, we actually just bought out a half dozen of them, but... right. They figured out how to get human nervous systems moving mechanical limbs decades ago. So we just needed to get a mechanical nervous system to move living limbs. Very clumsy attempt to avoid using the word human. High precision mods are slotted straight into the nervous system. They receive their input from neurotransmitters, not bioelectricity. So you had to do the opposite. Exactly. We created a synthetic neurotransmitter that our androids could use to communicate with organic flesh. Where did that breakthrough come from? Dr. Asher? Partly. He led the team that built the motor neurons in this analogy. They carry commands from the central nervous OS to individual muscles across the chassis. But the the synthetic analog serotonin. That was actually an old brainchild from the VP of Android Futures, Helen Jung. Jung? Hasn't David mentioned a Dr. Jung before? Sounds impressive. She's one hell of a biochemist. Or she was, I guess. Not much time for individual lab work when you get her kind of pay grade. So Jung collaborated with David on the technology that enabled warm androids. As I thought. Whatever went into Sarah that makes the android so distinct, he couldn't have taken sole credit for it. Jung, did he partner with her on this? I had thoughts and now I've lost them. Maybe it's too early in the morning. This seems to share some components with that coffin Sarah was napping in earlier. If Dawes does quality assurance, is this some kind of android calibration device? It's probably what he'll use to register Sarah. Looks a little... Is Sarah tall enough for it to recognize her? Oh, that's... That's kind of cheeky. There's something out there that caught my eye when we came in. A very familiar shade of crimson. If I squint through the glass, out on the floor there are temperature-controlled fluid tanks. Through the glass and plastic flows an eye-catching scarlet that transitions into... So you add the blood towards the end? You mean the oxidant? Yeah, relatively late in the process. Something out of place. Androids have blood, even if it's not officially labelled as such. But it isn't red, it's pink. Brain code reference. Sometimes milky, sometimes neon, occasionally garish, but pink. And Danganronpa, we can't forget the OG. I just didn't think the oxidant would be red. Right, sorry, I barely noticed it at this point. The color's natural. It comes from the biomanufacturing process. That chromofuge out there removes the byproducts, the waste, the excess pigment. Manufacturing machinery that processes organic fluids used in the production of warm androids. Removes byproducts, impurities, and pigments from android blood, thereby changing its color from red to pink. This is in evidence. We don't know how, but this is going to be very important for the case. Changing it from blood red to psychopop pink. Without that chromofuge, our android's flesh would come out looking all the wrong colours. That may be true. It probably isn't, but it may be. But I have a simpler explanation. Blood is primal. The sight of it carries weight. They change the colour of their product's blood so that when an android gets a bottle broken against its face, no one bats an eye. Okay, 18 minutes, we still have time. Feels like I've seen this before. That's right, there was one in David's lab. That's the nanograde elementary manufacturer. Nanofacturer for short. Real high quality piece of machinery, each of them built in-house by Randolph Mechanics. What does it do? Nano-level flash fab. A method of manufacturing artificial microscopic compounds that utilizes parallel nesting to assemble billions of simple structures in minutes or even seconds. Nanomachines have been around for the better part of the century, but the time and resources required for their construction through traditional means was, historically, prohibitively expensive, limiting exploration and investment in nanotech. In the years since flash fabrication's introduction, use and demand for nanomachines has exploded. Scientists, doctors, and product designers have found brand new niches for them across every industry. Concerns about the ecological impact of the surge in nanomachine construction have been raised, though the official stance of the Nanolife Industrial Lobbying Group has remained unwavering. Nothing that small can possibly leave that big of an ecological footprint. It's a lobbying group. I'm actually a bit ignorant on what lobbying groups are supposed to do, but given Given what I recently heard on Morpars about how lobbyers were able to undo a ban on cane toads and now Australia is infested with cane toads, I don't think much of them. Could that actually... Wait, give me that again. Artificial microscopic compounds. Scientists, doctors have found... Could that have been how they made the poison, the drug, the depressant, whatever it is? But that would also imply David self-inflicted it. And we need to find someone else to blame for this, otherwise Sarah will never forgive us. Basically, a 3D print of nanomachines. You built nanomachines in your factory for use in your androids? The raw materials are cheap, literal and elementary, so no sense in getting them shipped in. It's mostly the medical models that make use of them. Inject a couple of thousand nanites into a patient's bloodstream, run diagnostics, provide a solution. A 3D printer for nanomachines. What kind of ink does it use? Silicon, hydrogen, oxygen, carbon, building blocks. I don't have it on list, but wasn't a lot of that the stuff that was in the designer drug? They feed into the nanoprinter, it assembles machines particle by particle, like a ribosome building structurally complex proteins out of chemically simple amino acids. Wait, did they poison him with nanobots? That would be a very cyberpunk way to kill someone. Must be time consuming. You would think, but Randall cracked the code in parallel microfactoring. Thin-sized crystalline, sprawling like an ant's nest. Raw materials enter at one of thousands of different entry points, combining and recombining at intersections. The finished product ends up at the center and drips out in a liquid solution. Distilled nectar swimming with millions of nanites in just 2 minutes. Oh wow, that is actually definitely a... Okay, this is actually very relevant for the case, I think. Nectar, it's sticky. It can be, depending on the desired output, but the door vacuum seals while it's cooking, so don't worry. It's completely spill-proof. What a relief. Not exactly a box of paper clips David could just have brought home with him from the office one day. He must have bought his own, for some reason. A machine capable of assembling organic or inorganic compounds or even manual machines after just 2 minutes of vacuum-sealed mixing. Found at Noble's factory show floor, machines just like it are used throughout the production process of making their warm androids. There's still something else to look at? Really? Wait. Oh. There's an article. Let's read the article, then wrap up the episode right before the Morgan's Choice. What have we got on this data pad? Some kind of write-up. On the subject of Sullivan's Peak. Much of our world today, and in fact, much of our world's economy is heavily influenced by the uncanny valley. The thought experiment provides a simple and easily applied explanation for the gaps we see in otherwise wide spectrum of automated dependence that assist us in nearly every industry on the planet. There's a very simple primal truth to it. We like things that resemble the living, like cartoons, puppets, toys, and we like things that are damn near indistinguishable from the living, like whatever name Noble's latest products are being sold under. But there are deep, deep trenches between those two ends, where products are universally appalling to human sensibility. The Uncanny Valley will no doubt remain a useful tool for teaching, marketing, and designing for generations to come. But already we are seeing ways in which it fails. It's becoming increasingly clear that the space between nearly indistinguishable and truly indistinguishable is much wider than we ever suspected. It may not be the only part of the map that we fear. I propose we bridge these gaps in knowledge by looking in speculative fiction of Robert J. Sullivan, who in his most well-known work, Equal Under One Sky, described a concept which thereafter has been called Sullivan's Peak. Through the lens of his characters and their so very divided world, Sullivan demonstrated that the Uncanny Valley does in fact have its own peak on the other side, a point past which making an artificial existence any more human in its features serves only to make the user experience more uncomfortable, more difficult, and more fraught with moral pitfalls. Once you reach Sullivan's Peak, travelling any further has only diminishing returns. The implications of this idea are far-reaching. We will very soon reach a point at which the designers of ads can only make their creations less lifelike or less likable. A hard stopping point for technological progress. What then, must we ask? Oh, looks like you forgot to sign into this device. Drop your thumbprint below and we'll get you squared away so you can keep reading. And surprised to find reading material like that around here. Let's solve this mystery. Let's solve the question and then move on. Or are they passing it around as a gag, or are they actually afraid of Sullivan's Peak around here? Noble must be. I don't think Noble would ever be wary of it, but Noble's making money hand over fist. Why should they care if some sci-fi authors think they need to slow down? Because it could spell doom for the entire industry if they're right. Wary of it. If the peak does exist, they'll be coming up on it fast now that androids are warm. Noble's entire product line, maybe their entire industry, could go bottoms up if people start thinking it's cruel. If there is any indication where their androids are headed, I could see some people getting uncomfortable. There's still something to check out here. Well, we'll check it out next. There's a thing on the bench. We'll go find out what that thing is next time. Until then guys, take care, I'll see you all around.